All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly platform, all right, we've gone from podcast to platform, folks. We have gone from podcast to platform. No longer calling this a podcast, it is now a platform. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome to the number one platform on innovative teamwork. If you are a regular listener, you already know how we get down here. Whatever the challenge is, whatever the obstacle is, whatever you think you are, whatever you feel you are is getting in the way of your success, we are here to indirectly tell you are not going through it alone. I have, if I'm not mistaken, actually, no, there's a few times this has happened, but for the second time, I'm promoting another book. Mr. David Brunson is back on the show. This new book is titled "I See You, Brother." All right, if you could recall, a couple of years ago now, actually, I met him. Was it 2 years ago?
Two or three.
Yeah,
I can't
like
even
two or
remember.
3 years
It's been
ago,
a minute.
I connected with a Misty Buck, and Misty Buck, she has an incredible platform as well. And we did a table setup, and then he was promoting his first book. And then he came on this show and spoke and gave some light towards the whole situation in terms of you guys got to understand as football is growing and you guys know me as a former athlete, former Division I college football player. The transition is a very dark one in many ways. I know that ESPN and all these people they like to just focus on what's great and the light and all that, but it is a very difficult thing to transition from something that you've been dedicated your entire life to. So, all that being said, David, welcome to the show, man. How have you been?
Been good, man. Thanks for having me once again.
Yeah, so catch us up, man. Like from that point though, what has been going on? How has things been happening? Just kind of give us a briefing. And I do want to get into again, I do want to be respectful of your time, but I definitely do want to get into the book that you sent that's going to be dropping as of this will be out by the time this recording comes out, but it'll be dropping very soon called I See You Brother. I mean, you hear the title and I mean it hits all sorts of chords with me. So go ahead, the floor is yours.
Look, I'm not too much has really changed to be honest. I'm still doing my personal training. I got a lot more kids that I'm training now. I actually just recently started an AAU track team. That's, God willing, I'll be able to get that up and running.
Mm.
I do have some real world class kids, man. So I'm really excited for that. But like I said, not much has changed. Still doing my daddy thing.
hmm
So outside of that, I'm just looking forward to this new book, new
Right.
project that I have coming out this Saturday.
So when I first met you, your son was in I want to say he wasn't middle school yet. He was kind of
No,
in the
first,
transition. He was
first grade,
first
first or
grade,
second.
right? He was transitioning, and now he's probably getting to those ages now in middle school. Before we get into your book and what you're doing professionally, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how that process has been. Because as you just mentioned, very passionate about kids. You're very passionate about, building young athletes and doing it the right way. Whether they get to the league or they don't, it's really about getting them mentally right. But what I've known is that could be a really challenging thing to do when you're raising your own as well. So speak to us a little bit about some of the challenges, some of the triumphs when it comes to navigating that relationship first, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Well, starting off with my son,
Yeah.
that process really wasn't easy because, as you know, like that whole COVID thing,
Yeah.
he was in kindergarten when that happened, so it kind of stunted a little bit of his development.
hmm
But we had our little setback, but ever since second grade, man, it's been smooth sailing, straight A's and B's, on the road and everything. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
Now, as far as dealing with the kids that's not my blood, um, there's been some roller coasters, a
Yeah.
little bit of a roller coaster, but I will say like I enjoy it. It's been a big surprise to me that all of my kids are girls in the athletic world. So
hmm
all of them have been in track, and all of them are girls, and that's opened my eyes up a lot to
hmm
having to navigate their personalities individually, but
hmm
then also hormone changes and
Oh yeah.
like as a male coach with all girl athletes and different times and everything. But that's opened my eyes up to be a little bit more sensitive,
hmm
um, more sensitive than I've already been. But it's like I said, it's opened my eyes up to to learning more about not just the athlete, male athlete,
Hmm.
but the female side of things as well. And I will say that with me continuing to learn and how I am with them, like the results and their reactions to me has been amazing.
Yes.
I love them as if they were my own.
Hmm.
Um, Now, as far as lyric goes, he gets a little jealous because of how much time I put in with all of them, whatever. So now he's trying to get in,
Hmm.
into athletics as well. So hey, I'm here for it. I'm happy about that part.
Yeah, and and to speak on that point, as when it comes to females developing as athletes, that I think is not really, you don't really see enough of it, and it's not necessarily something. I mean, nowadays what's being broadcasted, and I've said this on multiple occasions, we like the cattiness. We like to see the Caitlin Clark and the Angel Reese, and we
Yeah.
think that that's a representation of girl sports. But I've made the argument that that's not necessarily just two girls going at each other and fighting. No, these are young ladies that are looking to develop. 99% of them won't make it to those pro levels, but they're going to develop healthy habits. It's going to be a whole do a whole lot when it comes to how they pick their mates, who they pick in their lives. So much of what you learn as an athlete, all right, just a young athlete, is going to help develop you later on in life. So that's a very, very important concept. So, well, go ahead. I'm going to get to the book, but I think you want to address.
No, you're absolutely correct. I have those conversations with them. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy. I'm like, yeah, we're here for sports, but like I love developing humans.
exactly.
Like like with my son, I'm not raising him for me. I gotta raise him for
A young
when
lady.
he's out in the world. Like I can't do
Exactly.
that, And it's the same thing for my athletes. Like I treat them as if they're mine. So if they have problems with mom and dad, like I'm trying to give them little ways to try to, you know, help them with communication.
Hmm.
Last year I helped one of my kids. Basically, I wrote a whole script for her to sit her dad down
Hmm.
and talk to him. Like, I
Yes.
need to talk to you, and I
Wow.
just need you to listen right now.
Wow.
Like, they've been good ever since then. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, as a coach, you have to wear different types of hats. Just like being a dad, you have to wear different types of hats, and you also have to learn along the way because you don't know everything. You
Right.
don't. So, like, I enjoy not just coaching them, but also being a mentor for them.
Exactly.
So that's the biggest thing.
Exactly. I mean, it's great to hear you say that because I remember our first interview, the first time you were on the show. I remember you mentioning, and we're gonna respect a lot of people here, but I remember you sort of mentioning not being with Lyric's mother anymore as that being a really positive thing. But if you look on the flip side of it now, you get to mentor young ladies, so another man doesn't have to necessarily go through a certain thing, or you're able to give them that male's perspective on things. I mean, the girl I'm actually seeing now, she was in a previous marriage, and she would tell me all the time, sometimes, look, you just need to connect in a way so we understand each other with communication, to where there's not one bad person, another intentionally bad person, regardless of how the relationship works out. But it's just a matter of communicating to make sure the connection is actually the right connection. And that's a major, major lesson that goes absolutely, again, it goes under the radar because your guys are so busy talking about Caitlin Clark and the fact that she's white and Adrian's pulling her hair and now he this and now he, oh my God. Some of that stuff, dog, I can't take it. I cannot watch it anymore. It's sick.
Yeah, it gets annoying sometimes for real.
I'm
It really
telling you.
does.
All right, so I have the book right here. I'm looking at it. I want to read off I'm not going to give out too much. You guys got to go buy it. All right. I'm not going to give out too much, but I just want to
Flip
jump
note.
in because when I read it, I read a little bit of it, and the beginning of it starts. This book comes off the back of a mental breakdown. I'd felt like I failed and was failing at everything I attempted or was trying to accomplish. So that the fact that you opened the book with that line hit me on so many ways, on so many levels. I mean, from when I played again to when I tried this business idea, I tried this over and over and over again, understanding that, when you put something out there, you will fail. But when you hear from like another person's perspective and they're able to bounce back from it or they're able to at least speak on it, it creates an opportunity, it creates a partnership kind of in a virtual sense or whatever. So can you kind of speak on why you would open up the book like that and why, what are you hoping readers grab from it as they make their purchases?
All right. So firstly, like the book, like that's my little disclaimer. Is my conversation basically to another black man, right? The book is geared to black men, but with that being said, is that saying that a white man or Spanish man don't experience a lot of the things that we do? No, that's not saying that at all. But me starting it off that way, I just felt felt it was important to do that,
Mhm.
because we all go through, we all have a timeline, we all have a plan, we all just think that like it's supposed to be this one way, and when it doesn't happen in your time, or it messes with you, and not just personally, but now you have, I got the little man, like,
Right.
so if everything that you're trying to do continues, like this continues to be a roadblock, some just to knock you back a few steps. Like at some point, there's gonna be a break. Like, what am I doing? Trying to be the best man I can be,
Mhm.
best father I can be, best friend I can be, and continue to push and knock on these doors and continue to be told no. So
Mhm.
like what am I supposed to do?
Right.
So that like I said, I feel like every man, not just black, white,
Yeah,
whatever. I think
yeah, that
we
I want to
all
stick there. I want to stick there for because you just said father, friend, uh, those the other words, father, friend, and just man in
man.
general, right? And you intentionally decided to put black men in that conversation. And trust me, I understand 1000% what you're saying because it is not just black men that go through difficult times. It is not just black men that are, struggling with whatever our mental health is struggling. It's the fact that it seems as though that when you put the word black man in front of it, now things kind of have an exclamation point to it. There's an exclamation point to it to where now we was it this morning? This morning I was listening to I think it was Cam Newton, and he was interviewing some female rapper who's
Hey
going.
Michelle.
That was, did you see that? Where
Yeah.
she starts crying, and all of a sudden, we as black men are always in a situation where we're being blamed for something that, like, what the hell did we do? I mean, if we, I love to hear your thoughts on because when you think about the conversation with black men and the way it gets portrayed, there's always
Mhm.
something added to it that seems very unnecessary. And it seems that your book, when you say I see you, brother, your book speaks to that conversation to where I've always been on record saying we're not victims. We work hard again, if the results and all that. So, go ahead, take the floor, take the floor. Keep talking.
Piggybacking off of what you said, we're gonna go back to this previous election.
Yes.
I don't normally get into a lot of politics. I dibble and dabble in the whatever, but the part of that election that got me, and I actually got emotional about it, and it will always piss me off because I actually had some clients bring that same topic that was being portrayed
Mhm.
about black men not going out and supporting black women, this and that. I'm like, how? When we've always supported, but it's one of those things where like when I got into it and explained it to people, it's always easy to step on somebody that everybody's already stepping.
Yeah.
So if we're already considered to
Mhm.
be lowest of the low, it's easy to target that demographic out.
Exactly.
And if you have your own people stepping in and just going right along with it, I'm like, yo, like, what am I doing? you
I
know,
dude, I lost friends for over that. I did. There were black males that I lost not only friends but lost absolute all my respect for because of the way they reacted to how that election turned out. And again, I've said it on over and over again. I am born and raised in a Caribbean household. All right. I spent 2 years as a high school football coach. If I'm going off identity, I would have loved Kamala and Walz to be like, who else would be better
yeah.
identity wise? But do I have enough common sense to say, I don't want men playing in women's sports? And me being the person that I am, I said to myself, I'm going to look at a person's policies before their identity. And because I'm a black male, all of a sudden, I have to get looked at funny. I have to get a bunch of, nasty comments and stuff like that. So when I think about that and I think about how you just brought that up, it is very important that we stick together as men, regardless of your color, your ethnicity, or whatever it is you want to consider yourself. You have to make sure you're around the right community of people that believe in
Absolutely.
the same ideologies as you. And again, that's going to come in the form of some black, some white, some Latino, some Hispanic, some Asian. Doesn't matter. It's going to be all about what do y'all believe in, and you will be happy. Again, the people that you're referring to when it comes to just picking someone because of their color. Well, did that, and if you want to talk about Kamala Harris, hey, did she pick a husband based on color? No, she did not. So what
But
exactly are
I
you
wasn't even getting on like the conversation of anything. It was just the topic that was being that black men aren't voting
hmm
for Kamala for whatever reason, or black men aren't supporting black women, or black like the topic was constantly about black men
Thank
not
you.
doing something.
Thank you.
And I'm like, when, where? Like, tell me, like, show me the proof of this.
Yes, yes.
There's nothing, but like I said, it's easy to pick on somebody that everybody's already picking.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is, when Obama made headlines over like a lot of the stuff we're talking about now, I remember hearing Van Jones go on and just he was so disappointed as I was because like I wouldn't care about politics if it wasn't for Obama. A lot of us could admit that, but he just was so annoyed because it's like we just want to know we're being seen. Ever since you in 2008, ever since you got in the office, a lot of us have just gotten on the right path. We saw we didn't have to just be an athlete. We saw we didn't have to just be a rapper. We saw we could make money other than drug dealing. We saw we were going to do something productive in our lives. And you get 16 years later, now all of a sudden somebody's going to challenge our intellect because we don't have we're thinking, hey, maybe the businessman, maybe a Trump type of a person who can bounce back after all he's done. Let me just hear what the man got to say. Go look up what JD Vance did before he got that position. JD Vance said it on camera. He would never vote for Trump. Never.
I know. Look,
Never. So if he's growing, why can't we start to have a conversation and start growing ourselves? And that brings me, the thing is, I'm bringing all this up for a reason because when you think about the book that you have and the work you're doing, you just mentioned it. You're around kids and you have to be a positive role model. And as I am, I'm around kids all day too. And I've had to literally break up fights between black kids and white kids who don't know what they're talking about. They're just going off what adults say. Even around that time, I had to stop arguments. I've had little fifth graders come to me and say, "Oh, you're one of those people that believe all lives matter. You don't just black like just little kids don't know what the hell they talking about." So I'm curious to hear how you broach those types of conversation. Not necessarily, obviously with your son, you're able to, be there, but some of the ones that don't get a chance to go home with you and see how you interact. How do you broach that conversation to where, and you're in Miami too, right? So,
yeah,
obviously there's a ton of, I believe they were like the only part of Florida that was blue. So there's probably a ton of just those feelings out there where it's like you gotta kind of talk young people through this so we don't continue down this divisive path.
yeah.
And I was,
Well, first off, I asked him, "What do you know about it?"
yeah.
Let's start there.
Right.
What? Okay, you're saying, what do you know about it? If you can logically, and intellectually explain this to me,
hmm
like, okay, we can have a real conversation. You
Right.
know, if you can't, then I'm going to say, then I'll explain whatever the topic is. If I have the understanding of it, I'm not going to sit there and try to teach something I don't have the understanding of.
hmm
But so like literally, I will start it off with, okay, you, tell me what you know about this topic, and I'll sit there and try to listen to what they're having to say. If they're wrong, I'll correct them. If they're right, I'm like, okay, cool. But let's play devil's advocate a little bit, or let's add something to it.
hmm
It's not always this.
hmm
Sometimes there's a little bit of room for multiple things can be right.
Right.
So that's normally how I approach it with a question.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Like how we always say, ask questions.
Exactly.
That's
And
it.
so there's another that brings me to another point in your book too, because even and I've read the first one and this one too, it also has these points where you're directing people to look inward. You're also making it so readers are writing down what their thoughts are. You're putting scriptures in terms of what God said, how to do things God's way. So, can you just speak on that a little bit? Because I don't want to. I want to make sure we don't make the whole a political podcast,
No,
making it so people understand what they're going to be getting out of your book and when they come into your world. So,
yeah, absolutely. So first, off the first book, there was nothing related to like how I am spiritually or religiously,
right,
right?
it was written down. You can write down what you need to write down.
Yeah, but like the first book, when the lights are brightest, like I didn't say anything really about God or anything like that. So when that book actually came out,
Hmm?
like I felt convicted.
Really?
Like yeah, I did because I'm like that's not who I am, you
Wow.
know.
Okay.
So when this with this one, there I in the book I say don't let the scriptures
Hmm.
turn you away from the actual message of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And like, yes, I put scriptures in there, but I try to relate it in a way that anybody can grab from what's going on in today's society
Hmm.
and be like, okay, it's like, oh, although I'm not Christian, I can still get what he's saying. You
Yes.
know, so like that's my little 2 cents on that part. Like, just don't let the scriptures turn you away from the actual message that it's trying to convey.
Right.
But what's the other part of what you were asking? I'm
Well,
sorry.
no. The other part of it is you kind of already answered it because
Mhm.
as I'm looking through it, and then again, I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing, but I did kind of skim through it before I got out here to be prepared. Is the points of the book in which you're allowing people to write down what it is they're going through, and that is to me that's very valuable because when you're reading a book you really start to reflect and you really start to see how you fit in. I mean, the books I've read and the people that I've actually interviewed on the show, they write from a place where they know they're touching somebody somewhere whenever they decide to pick up the book. So when you think about who is your ideal reader and who is the person and what they're going through, what they're struggling with, kind of speak a little bit about what you're hoping that they grab from it, how you kind of put your heart between the pages, all that stuff.
Look, I'm hoping that like our community just can just heal.
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest part about it. Because if you can change one person, that one person can change another.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the biggest thing right there. Like I'm just like like I said in there, I'm stepping out from behind the curtains, and
Yeah.
this is all of me. You know,
So
I'm talking about
what does healing look like in your estimation?
man, family, having direction, not having just a bunch of kids or adults just going through the world listening to society. You
Hmm.
know, men understanding what their definition of man is instead of going off of what society says,
Right.
especially being a black man, how you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be. So whatever it is, it's like, what is man to you? What is being a black man to you? You
Hmm.
know, how can you navigate the world un I'm not unapologetically. Let's just use that, right? How can you be you without a shadow of a doubt and still make your way? You know, because unfortunately, we are born with strikes against us.
Right.
You know, but like, how can you still make the positive out of it?
Hmm.
You know, so throughout the book, there's a place for you, like just like the other one, places for you to write. Call it mindful reflections. You know, and it's put in after a few different sections where you have enough time to actually formulate your thoughts
Hmm.
and put it on paper. Because sometimes it's more important to put it on paper so you can actually go back and see it.
Yeah. Mhm.
You know, so like what does it look like bringing family back together, less less friction
Mhm. Yeah.
in the
So
home and between the sexes. Let's say that because
exactly.
we are at a time where it is man this, woman this.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking at. I can't say nobody. Let me,
Mhm.
a lot. Can't make that generalization. But we're in a time where it's finger pointing. they do this, you're doing this, or whatever, but nobody's like doing this.
Yeah.
And as men, if we're supposed to lead, unfortunately, that burden falls on us. We have to change ourselves in order to be able to have other people follow behind.
Right.
Point blank, period. You can't be a selfish man and expect a positive outcome. You can't be a reactionary. Like you can't. You have to know how to compose yourself
Mm-hmm.
in order to lead properly.
Right.
And if nobody's being an actual leader, if nobody's following a role, I know a lot of people don't like the whole roles or whatever, but reality, there's roles. And like I say,
You
it
hit the
starts.
nail right here. I think when you hear that term role, there's negative connotation to it. And the problem with that is when you don't define your role, now you're letting the things that are happening in society define your role. From the X account, your Facebook account, your YouTube account, now everything. I mean, again, I deal with kids all day. They're looking through stuff, and instead of actually going through the content of that don't got no views, that doesn't have enough subscribers, so I won't look at it. So they're not even looking based on what are they going to have value from. They're looking
Mhm.
based on clout. And when you mentioned the reason I brought it up when it comes to, and like I said, I'll be very respectful of your time on this one, but the reason I brought it up in terms of how do we heal, it's because we've gotten so separated as a culture and we're judging people based on what we're seeing on a screen initially, but we're not doing deep dives. We're not actually asking ourselves, does this person fit? What value can I get from this person? It's okay. This one has 1,000, a million, whatever it is, followers. I'm going to follow that person. I'm going to allow that person to speak up for the people that look like me. I mean, one of the things that I thought was just ridiculous on that campaign was you have Cardi B telling me who I'm supposed to. But like stuff like this was, I mean, again, great artist, but she's not known for her intellect. And the fact that you think that that would work is very, very offensive. So let's let's kind of like close out here when it comes to what's next. What are you hoping that what can people kind of expect to see you doing in the next couple of years in terms of how you build your platform and all that kind of stuff? Like just kind of walk us through a little bit about your vision.
Man, I'm praying that the book touches the right amount of hands
Hmm.
to make it get to a lot of people, because
Right.
like you said, sometimes it takes. I mean, a lot of times people look at whether it's subscribers or and it takes one famous person, let's say, to like something that you said, and then they promote it, and then everybody goes around and grab it.
Right.
So now your message is touched not just that one person's hands, but
Hmm.
it touched a lot of people just from somebody saying something.
Right.
And I can only pray for that. I can only pray that it gets to the right hands and create more spaces for for us,
Hmm.
because that is like we do live in a more conscious time,
Hmm.
but I still don't think there's enough spaces for us,
Right.
you know. And that's what I would love to create a space for us to heal and grow. Healing is going to be a constant thing. I don't think you ever really totally heal.
No,
So it's
I
gonna it's
don't.
gonna
I
always.
was actually just telling my girl that yesterday. I'm like, my name Aswan, the way the kids used to make fun of Aswan. I'm a 36-year-old man. I still get pissed off of it. I mean, I still get triggered by it. All right. I'm a grown ass man and I still get triggered by it. So you don't heal. You learn to accept certain things, but
Yeah,
listen to me, man. The healing process comes over time.
it's going to constantly be a struggle.
Right.
Or even if it's not a struggle, there's going to always be something that triggers. Like it was a couple months ago. My girl, she was being playful,
Hmm.
right? And I knew she was being playful,
Right.
but in her playfulness, something just like brought me back to something that just close up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And it's like I apologize, but I did express what happened to her. I
And
mean, it happened to me with her, and I was like, yo, like I don't know where that came from. I don't know
the
where
way
it came
the
from.
way you handled it is part of healing, though. Like the
Yeah, it's like,
handler, because I mean, if she gets triggered and then y'all lead to a conversation, that leads to just a better experience because she knows where to draw the line. She knows when to act. You know what I'm saying? That part of it is so important.
but here's the crazy thing: it wasn't anything that she hadn't done before,
Right.
right? It was just like in that moment,
Mhm.
like something just triggered, and I was like, oh, like man.
Mhm.
I had to sit down with it for a second, and then I got back. Like once she left or whatever, I let her know like this is what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not necessarily anything that you did, but it was caused by something that you did at the same time. So I know it sounds like a contradiction,
Mhm.
but you didn't do anything wrong per se. It was just it was a reaction that it was a trigger that happened from past things. And
Exactly.
I didn't want to necessarily put that on you because that's unfair.
Yes. Yes.
You
Understood.
know, like you said, that is a part of the healing process. And under you will, like I said, you will never totally heal from something,
Mhm.
but you do learn tools to help navigate it.
Right.
So yeah.
So, what is the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to hear more?
Instagram, which is
Fitness is a lifestyle, baby.
It's a lifestyle. FIALS. That'll be the fastest way to get a hold of me, other than my phone number. But I'm not gonna put that out
Right.
there.
Listen, man, Instagram nowadays is the same thing as texting people these days, man. I mean, and depending on, well, I guess depending on how comfortable you are and putting yourself out there, but nowadays it's like you don't have an identity with it. I look at it as the same way as a phone number. So, all that being said, David, pleasure having you back on and all that stuff. So the final thing I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are way back, dreads, like back dreads, David. I want you to pretend that that person just finished playing football. He got a kid now. He's living wherever. He's trying to transition. Pretend that that man is right here in the Zoom room with us. Give him some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
All right. Well, if I'm going back in time, I'm telling younger David, create the community you'd like to see.
Hmm.
Keep good people around you and focus. Don't lose your idea of who you want to be, and just keep your head down and go for it. But like I said, keep the right people around you and like-minded people.
Oh man. Well, I love that the fact that you said community without mentioning the skin color, without mentioning ethnicity, because
Right.
that gets tossed around. So the fact that you said community, like-minded, good people around you, that should be the things associated with community, folks. Period.
Absolutely.
Sentence. So
So I say black community because that's what I am, right? But then I say community because I have a bunch of good people around me. Point blank, period.
exactly.
That's why I said like the book, although it's geared to black men, it's not deterring anybody from getting it and still learning something. It's just the black experience is way different than everybody else's.
Right, right. So, all that being said, again, fellow teammates, the promise of this show, the struggles, the obstacles, the roadblocks in your way, you're not going through it alone. We're here indirectly telling you these things. You guys make sure you go get a copy of I See You Brother. You're gonna probably have it on Amazon or
It's on Amazon and Ingram Spark.
Ingram Square. Yeah, so I'll put all that in the show notes as well. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.